Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to stick to Sweden, and we're also going to stick to my home county of Skåne here in the very south of the country. For this review we're looking at a collaboration beer, and both of the breweries involved in this one have featured on the channel a good few times before, albeit the home brewery significantly more often than the away brewery, just because the away brewery is newer. But I've had good beers from both of them, and I'm quite curious to see what happens when they put their heads together. So fingers crossed this is a good beer, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on it as well. So for this one then, we are going to head up towards Helsingborg in the northwest corner of the county. Lovely city that I do recommend you visit. But we're going to have a look at another beer from Brewski Mikrobryggeri, and this one is brewed in collaboration with Friends Company Brewing, who are a gypsy brewery based in the city as well. The beer itself is called Starman Returns. This is the quadruple dry hopped version. It comes in at 4.7% ABV, and it is worth noting that there is another version of this beer, an original version that was a 7% IPA. So yeah, curious to see how this one turns out. I wonder why they've kind of re-released a version of this at a lower alcohol. But that said, in recent times I've been having some really nice lower alcohol beers from Brewski. Actually, I've been a bit more impressed with their lower alcohol stuff recently than I have with their kind of higher alcohol stuff, in honesty. So yeah, maybe that's one of the reasons that they've done that. Who knows? But yeah, I do think Brewski's lower alcohol IPAs have been a bit better than the higher ones in recent times. But yeah, nice to return to both of these breweries on the channel once again. I got this one mainly because of the space theme, you know, astrophysicist and all this kind of thing. But yeah, should be quite an interesting beer. And this one was released as part of the Lokal och Småskaligt assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for February of 2021. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the breweries involved here before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery websites, the link to my other reviews that I've done, both from Brewski Mikrobryggeri and from Friends Company Brewing, and we will no doubt add more to both of those lists in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you happen to be interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Swedish beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brewski Mikrobryggeri then, on to my brewery notes. Since these guys are the home brewery as well, they go first. But yeah, Brewski Mikrobryggeri, as I've told you many a time before, were founded in 2014, and they're based in Helsingborg in northwestern Skåne. And the founders of this company are Marcus Hjalmarsson, Johan Britsen, Alfred Olsen and Robin Skoglund. And all of these guys were largely inspired to get into, you know, brewing their own craft beers on the back of trying the West Coast American beers. But Marcus was originally associated with the High Nose brand of beer, which is brewed at the Höganäs Brewery out on the Kullaberg Peninsula, again to the northwest of Helsingborg. And some of those beers are still brewed up there, although all of the Brewski beers are now brewed at their own facility in Helsingborg, which apparently has a total capacity, or I think it's got way more than that actually, but it's brewing somewhere in the region of 100,000 litres of beer per month at the moment. A little bit later on in 2016, they started their own beer festival called Brewskival, which had over 40 different brewers, and this has expanded year on year. I first went there in 2017, and I think it was 60 brewers that they had there that year. But they also used, they used to open up their brewery once a month as well for a bar, which they call Barski, but they now have a bar of the same name in the city itself, which opened back in 2018. If you go there, you can get some really nice ramen. It's not authentic kind of Japanese style ramen, if you like. It's an American chef, but it is pretty tasty, I have to say. But they now also brew some of their beer in the US at Tampa Bay Brewing Company, mainly their IPAs. And at this moment in time, they're looking to open up a bar in Oslo as well. And Marcus has a distribution company in Norway as well called Brewski, which imports Swedish beers into Norway. So it'll be interesting to see how that develops. And I do hope that we can get some more Norwegian beers down here in Sweden on the back of that. Actually, that would be pretty cool. But over 2019, these guys brewed around 500,000 litres of beer in total, and as of February 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced in the region of 325 different kinds of beer, and that number will no doubt increase over the next few months. They tend to release at least two different beers every month through the lokala småskaligt in Systembolaget, and there's various other ones coming out through the tillfälliga releases and stuff like this as well. So yeah, they're always cool to review new beers from these guys. And hopefully this one is another good one. So yeah, let's leave it at that for Brewski just now. So if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of those different beers that they've done. So yeah, let's go on to the away side of things now. Friends Company Brewing. So Friends Company Brewing, as I've kind of mentioned to you already, are a ghost or gypsy brewer, whatever you want to call them, that are also based in Helsingborg in northwestern Skåne. So the company was founded in the summer of 2016 and it's run by 4 friends. This is Martin Karlsson, Philip Hansson, Björn Axelsson and Jakob Berens. But they produce around 20,000 litres of beer. And they started because they were just home brewing enthusiasts and they enjoyed drinking beer with their friends, hence the name. But Philip is a car enthusiast and entrepreneur. Jacob runs a home brewing store called Hembryggeriet.se, and Martin has a background in electrical engineering and works for Volvo, while Björn comes from a background in IT. So there's a diverse array of different backgrounds going on in this company. But they started the brewery as a part-time venture and they just kind of want to see how it goes, and eventually they're hoping that one of them will be employed full-time by the brewery. As far as I could tell, that hasn't happened yet. I had a little look through some of the Beer News SE articles and I didn't see anything about that, if memory serves me correctly. But Jakob and Björn brew the beer while Martin and Philip take care of the other side of the business, the kind of paperwork and all of these kind of things. And the first beers were brewed at Spike Brewery up in Gothenburg, while their main IPA is brewed at Brewski in Landskrona, where I used to work actually. But as of February 2021, when I'm reviewing this beer for you, they've produced around 30 different kinds of beer, and I think I reviewed one of their sours actually last month, if I remember rightly. So they seem to be releasing quite a few different kind of sweet sours and things like that at the moment. But yeah, definitely worth checking out some of the beers from these guys. They've got some really interesting stuff from what I've seen so far, and it will be interesting to see how they progress over the next little while. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Friends Company Brewing for the moment. This must be, you know, the 6th or 7th review involving this brewery here on the channel. But yeah, they've got some pretty interesting beers, I have to say, and I look forward to seeing how that goes for them over the next little while. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Friends. As I say, if you want to learn more, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. Very curious about this beer. So as you can see, this one has come out in one of these little 330ml cans. I do love the artwork on this. It looks pretty cool. But yeah, you can see the symbols of both breweries on the side here. There is the little Brewski man, and there is the Friends Company Brewing symbol. But 330ml can, I think I would have paid somewhere in the region of 30 Swedish kronor for this. So roughly about €3, £2.50, you know, maybe $3.50 American at most. So yeah, as I say, released as part of the Lokal Småskaligt assortment through Systembolaget here in Sweden for February of 2021. And yeah, as I say, I think maybe, I don't know how many beers I've had from Brewski these days, probably in around 40 or something on the channel, but you know, my 7th or 8th, I guess, from involving Friends Company Brewing. But let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting. I'm very curious to see what this beer has in store for us. Like I said, I've been very impressed with the lower alcohol. I've been really impressed with the lower alcohol IPAs that I've had recently from Brewski, so I'm hoping this one has another good one actually. That head is going to fade away fairly quickly. I think it does look a little bit bumpy. I gave it a very aggressive pour there. Genetically angry, you know, Scottish, we are genetically angry people, yes. But yeah, as you can see with this one, it looks like a very nice beer. I mean, if we shine the light through it, it's a lovely kind of murky, very kind of murky, rich sort of yellow colour, this one. You can see it poured with about a 2-finger of a kind of quite bumpy, I would say sort of slightly creamy off-white head. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of the head, but I mean overall it does look pretty damn nice, I have to say. So I like how this one goes together. I have to say the level of haze in this beer for a 4.7% is pretty damn impressive as well. So remember, when it comes to the colour of these beers, it's dependent on 2 things. 1, the type of malts that you use in the first instance, and then 2, the length of your wort boil. The longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, thus you get a darker colour out of it. But again, it's dependent on the type of malts that you use in the first instance. Repeated that quite a lot in these videos over the last little while. But the level of haze that you get in these beers depends on the wheat and the oat content. So yeah, it's you know, it just sort of depends. To be honest, because it varies from brewery to brewery, whether a brewery is more oat forward or more wheat forward, or you know, more barley malt forward. So yeah, it just depends. The level of haze really just varies from beer to beer. But yeah, in terms of a New England hazy IPA, there's nothing too surprised about this one. Quite a murky, dark sort of yellow colour. This one, not the darkest of yellows that you're going to come across, but it looks a little bit like a kind of mango and, you know, passion fruit. Yeah, mango and passion fruit sort of. A fruit juice, if you like. I always like comparing these New England IPAs to fruit juices because that's just what they remind me of. But yeah, nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance when you consider what style it is. So let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. I got a nice whiff of the fruity notes coming out of it as we opened it up. So yeah, that does smell pretty nice. Yeah, so straight away with this beer, you've got a nice balance in the malt base here. You've got some nice smooth kind of white bready notes coming out of it, which I really, really like. You can so there is a good bit of barley malt presence to this one. As I've told you before, I think there's 6 different directions you can take a New England IPA. They can be more sort of yeasty and farmhousey. They can be sort of rye and grainy. They can be oaty and creamy. They can be wheaty and bitey. They can be sort of more soft and barley malt leaning. And they can also be quite sweet these days as well. They can have quite a bit of brown sugar in them. So that's another thing to think about with these ones. But yeah, the aroma out of this one, the malty side of things, there's definitely, the more that you sugar the beer up, you get a little bit more of the wheaty bitiness out of it. There's a nice kind of soft white bready note in there. There's a wee bit of oaty creaminess, and there's also some there's also a really nice kind of how would you say, a little bit of a kind of sweet brown sugary caramelly note coming out of the beer as well. So yeah, I do like how this goes together in the malty side of things. I think the more and more that I smell of it, it gets a little bit more wheaty and bitey. And I have noticed, in fairness, that that's a little bit of a trend with the with the kind of these lower alcohol New Englands. They tend to put quite a little bit more wheat in them just to make them a wee bit more bitey, if you like. And I do like that about them. I have to say that is something that I do appreciate. I'd like a little bit of wheaty bitiness in a New England IPA, but the malty side of things is very, very nice actually. Yeah, this goes together really, really nicely, I have to say, from the malty side of things. So take a little bit of time and just ponder that over, but let's focus on the hoppy side of the beer. So for me, quadruple dry hopping in this, you can smell a little bit of that kind of hoppy, dusty side of thing to it, which is quite nice. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, then you definitely get a nice little bit of you get a good little touch of earthiness out of it. There's a nice big floral aromatic side to the beer as well. It's got a good little bit of spice, to be honest with you, and then you've got some really nice you have got a nice little bit of a grassy, zesty character on the front of the nose. So yeah, quite a bitey, wheaty note, a big kind of powerful floral aromatic quality to it. Then you've also got some nice kind of juicy, fruity aspects to this beer as well. So I like how this one goes together, definitely. The way that the aroma kind of comes out in this one is very, very nice, I have to say. So yeah, the fruity side of things, where to start with that? For me, it's got a nice little bit of passion fruit to it. You do get a bit of a softer, more oily mango in there too. Yeah, so it's got definitely a wee bit of a kind of passion fruity note to it. You've got a good bit of a kind of juicier mango there. I want to say there's a wee tiny touch of peach in this one as well. It does have a wee bit of a kind of peachy sharpness too, which is interesting. So yeah, that's really nice actually. Yeah, a bit of passion fruit, bit of a peachy note, softer mango. You're definitely going to get some apricots and papayas out of this one. And I want to say there's also just a wee bit of a kind of citrusy, zesty kind of thing going on in this beer as well. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer, I think, is pretty nice as well. I think everything kind of fits together really well. So yeah, the kind of the whole kind of fruity juicy side of thing in this beer fits everything it's got. This beer has a good little bit of pungency, but I think you always find this with these slightly lower alcohol IPAs. They do tend to have just a little bit more kind of bitiness and pungency and things to them, just to, you know, because they're lower alcohol, they tend to have things that are a little bit more sort of bitey and stuff like that. So I do like that about this beer, I have to say. So yeah, interesting. Definitely an interesting aroma on this one. So take a little bit of time to ponder that over before you have a taste of this beer. But nothing overly surprising going on here, just a little bit more kind of bitey and pungent and things, if you like. So yeah, let's have a taste of this one then and see how we get on. So this one is the Starman Returns, a quadruple dry hopped IPA coming in at 4.7% ABV from Brewski Mikrobryggeri in Helsingborg, along with friends company Brewing, who are a gypsy brewery also based in the city. Let's get stuck into this one. Slange, skål, cheers. Ooh. That is pretty nice, actually. It's got a nice, the first impression I have of this one is that it's got a nice balance to it. It's actually one of the more oily session, so I don't know if we can call this a session IPA, but it's actually one of the more, it's one of the more kind of oily, lower alcohol IPAs that I've come to think of it. So I'm just going to say thumbs up to them on this one. I think this has come together really nicely. I think I'm just getting this in a nice condition, actually. I don't know, does it have a canned on date? See, it says best before the 26th of the 5th, 2022. That seems like a hell of a long time, because I'm guessing this one would have been canned sometime in the middle of January so that it could get on the shelves in Systembolaget at the right time. So I'm guessing this one's maybe been in the can about 6 weeks or so at the time that I'm reviewing this for you. But to recommend, you know, yeah, the 26th of May 2022 is when this would go out of date. That's far too long. They need to look at that again. Far too long. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, it is a really nice beer, and I think at this point in time, I'm really getting it in good condition. The thing you always, you know, if you've got such dry hopping, I think you always need to let a beer kind of mellow out a little bit. If, you know, these New England IPAs especially, I think they need about 10 days in the can at least before you drink them, because otherwise you just get green out of them. They need a little bit of time to mellow out, especially the ones that are quite heavy on the dry hopping like this. So yeah, that's definitely a point to be made in about this one. So yeah, I like how this I do like how that whole side of things goes together. So it's just, this beer is just in good condition, but that's crazy to recommend that this could be, I'm guessing, you know, sit in the can for a year and 3 months. Nah, wouldn't. If you leave it that long, the wheat's going to be really thick and just horrible, I would think. So yeah, you're not going to get much balance in the beer after that. But as it stands, this beer, I think, is really nicely done. So let's try and just break down the flavour of this one then and see how we go. So straight away with this beer, across the middle of your palate, you've got a nice kind of slightly crisp, soft, white bready kind of thing here, and I think that works really well for this one. But yeah, in the middle third of your palate, there's quite a few things going on. It's actually quite a straight shooting beer in a lot of ways, but it just works really well. So on top of that kind of that barley malty white bready base, you do have a nice little bit of a kind of oaty creaminess coming out of the beer. Sitting on top of that, you've got some nice kind of, you do have a little bit of a kind of Werther's Original butter candy side of things. This is quite an interesting one because it does bring a degree of sweetness into these session IPAs, and this kind of goes to show you can get these big flavours, if you like, these big malty kind of flavours out of a lower alcohol IPA. So maybe this is the way to go, actually. But I'm impressed with this one again, and you know, maybe it's my palate changing a little bit, but it's not just with Brewski, but with quite a few breweries when they've done slightly lower alcohol IPAs. I have been, you know, quite impressed with them in recent times, to be honest with you. I've been impressed with some of the lower alcohol IPAs that I've had recently. So yeah, this one is quite nice. So yeah, kind of pale, you know, you get that sort of pale malty, soft white bready base to the beer. On top of that, you can feel a nice kind of smoother oatiness, and then in the centre of your palate, you can feel a you can feel a nice kind of, how do you say it, a big oily kind of sweet Werther's Original type thing out of it. So yeah, I like how that goes together. So yeah, yeah, the brown sugar in this one is quite nice, as I say. Feels a little bit more concentrated in the very centre of your palate, and a little bit more just kind of Werther's Originally creamy as you move further out, actually. And it does, I think the middle of your palate does gradually feel more oily the further you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, I like how that goes together. But yeah, on that border region between middle third and back third of your palate, there's a nice kind of bread crusty sort of thing to the beer. So I do like how that kind of goes together. But yeah, on the in the back third of your palate, you definitely get a wee bit more of the kind of wheaty bitiness to the beer. Like the wheat does have just a little bit more pungency and bitiness to it. So I really like how that goes together in this beer as well. And again, you do expect these lower alcohol IPAs to have that, just a little bit more wheaty bitiness. So yeah, it feels nice and thick and smooth in the middle of the palate, actually. And I do, yeah, that one, it works. It really does work, actually. So yeah, the malty side of this beer I think is really nicely executed, and I think Brewski and friends have done a good job of like showing you that the lower alcohol IPAs can be a bit sweeter, actually, because usually they use the sweetness in the higher alcohol ones to kind of cover the booziness a little bit. So yeah, definitely an interesting one. So thumbs up to both breweries for this. I think that they've done a solid job here. But yeah, let's focus on the hoppy side of things then. So at the back corners of the palate, you get a nice little bit of earthiness out of the beer. As you move further forward, there's a little bit of herbal quality there, and as you reach the kind of front corners of the palate, it's definitely kind of more big and floral and aromatic, but it's not going to blow the head off you in terms of the floral aromaticity and things like that. Definitely not. So yeah, the floral notes you get out of this beer I think are very, very nice. So yeah, fruity side of this beer is really interesting as well. But then yeah, around the front curve of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of lighter grassiness there. There's a wee touch of zestiness to it, and I think that works very, very well for this beer as well, come to think of it. So yeah, there is some really interesting just kind of sort of things going on with this beer. I like the slightly wheaty bitiness of it. I think you get more of a floral character just building in this one later, and that really suits the beer as well. It takes a little bit of time for this beer, I think, to just kind of show its colours, if you like, but it does work out very, very nicely. But yeah, on the fruity side of things then, as I always say, on that front third of your tongue, you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So if you go to that border region between front third and middle third of your palate, there's a nice little bit of a kind of bread crusty sort of thing in there. Then underneath you've got a bit of a, you can feel a little bit more of a kind of wheaty sort of note to the beer as well. But yeah, at the back of that front third of your palate, there's a nice at the back of that front third of your palate, in the fruity side of things, there's a wee bit of that stronger passion fruit there. The peachy notes that I was picking up in the aroma, I'm not really getting that in the flavour. Not really getting that in the flavour. But yeah, in the when you move further forward from that, the passion fruit actually does spread forward quite a wee bit. Then you get some juicier mango-y notes out of it, and then in front of that you get you start to get a few other things. There's a wee bit of a kind of, you do get a bit of an apricot note to this, but I think the tropical fruits are actually fairly pungent in this one rather than being softer like that. But then as you reach the kind of front half of that front third of your tongue, I think you get a wee bit of a sort of lemony, zesty sort of thing out of this beer. Could it be a wee bit of Centennial or something that's in this one, along with something like Victoria's Secret, or a bit of Citra or something like that? Yeah, it's interesting. So yeah, it starts, bit of stronger passion fruit, big oily mango, then one or two little hints of those softer notes, but not a lot. And then as you reach the front half of that front third of your tongue, there's definitely a big sort of lemony kind of thing going out of it as well. So yeah, I like how that goes together in this beer for sure. I think it is it's really nicely done in that sense. So yeah, thumbs up to both Brewski and Friends Company Brewing for this. I think they've pulled off a really nice lower alcohol IPA here, and I think, you know, maybe that's where the market's going a little bit, maybe taking the alcohol of the beers down a little bit, but still getting these big flavours. So yeah, interesting. So yeah, on the mouthfeel side of things then, to round off the review, this beer for me is mid-bodied. It's right in the centre of things. The carbonation is very, very smooth. It's got a bit of slickness to it and a bit of oiliness. Like I said, it's one of the more oily lower ABV IPAs that I've come across. And on the hoppy bitterness side of things, I think it's your fairly standard sort of 30 IBUs. The malt base, like I say, has got a nice bit of smoothness to it. There's a wee bit of thickness and kind of smoothness and sweetness in there. And then on the fruity side of things, you've got a nice juiciness and kind of wetness to the beer as well. So I really like how that side of things goes together in the beer as well. I think this is a really nicely executed one, this, and I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. I think if I do make it up, I've got a good friend in Helsingborg, so I might need to convince him to go. Well, we usually go to Benchwarmers, and we usually go to Brewski when we're in Helsingborg. We usually have a beer in each, and that's usually our thing. So we need to have a seat. We need to go to Brewski again, sorry, and see if they have this one on tap. I think this could be a really interesting one to try on tap, actually. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this review. Been really impressed with this one, so a nice effort both from Brewski and from Friends Company. Would be cool to see Friends Company open up their own tap room in Helsingborg as well. That could be quite cool. But yeah, let's leave it there. This one was the, how do we say again, was it the Starman Returns? Is that it? Yeah, Starman Returns. Quadruple dry hop version, coming in at 4.7% ABV from Brewski and Friends Company, both based in Helsingborg here in Skåne in the south of Sweden. Awesome beer this, really enjoyed it, and as I say, I've been impressed with these lower alcohol IPAs from Brewski in recent times, so do check those out if you get the chance. But yeah, thank you again for watching my reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Pardon me, let me know what your favourite beers are, both from Brewski and from Friends Company Brewing. We will return to both of these breweries at some point in the near future, I've no doubt about that. But thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Sláinte, skål, cheers, and see you on the next review.